Welcome to the Sales Acceleration Show, and finally, after all these years, I have my good friend Peter, world famous for PS Grow. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael.
And we had a very intriguing discussion yesterday about something that's happening to both of us because we're both content producers, and I wanted to go into content and producing. And actually, for me, it's a new way of sales. Is that a lot of people are reaching out to you and say, but Peter, you have such a great network, you know all these people, but then they want something.
Yeah.
So let's have a chat about that one.
Yeah. It's actually, the answer is a layered one, and it's about, I really believe that sales, especially in business to business, even in those digital times, as you know, I also work for a digital agency, and digital is okay, but at the same time, it's becoming human to human. And
I agree.
Becoming human to human.
Because it's a trusting.
Yes, it starts and ends with trust, and it's human doing business with human. Because let's face it, you can find everything on the internet. So what do you want? Is peer reviews and somebody that can guide you, can help you throughout your buying process, okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the thing is, if you combine that with, okay, the old way of doing marketing, we are the best and blah, 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 especially in our culture, that doesn't work.
No.
No.
So,
I mean, in order to get that trust, I mean, you have to show up in your most authentic way who you really are, because people are going to feel.
But that's a journey. I don't know if you also had to go through that. In the beginning, you have this type of, I need to look like the sales director or whatever, and then you evolve.
And that's the thing, is that, I mean, when you start very young, we are also very young, in sales, is that you think that you need to dress up. And in the past, it used to be like that. If you want to have a career, especially in corporate land, I mean, when I worked in IBM, if you would wear like this, and that would be appropriate. But in startup lands, it's a different thing. So
a small detour.
Yeah.
When I have to do really still difficult negotiations, I will put on a suit.
Me too.
Because for some weird reason, in my mind, it's a battle gear.
Yeah.
But it's because probably we're conditioned for 20 years of wearing suits.
No, but it's
because you walk differently, yeah?
Yeah, but but the suits, the clothes are going to determine how you feel. I mean, if I put on a suit and some nice shoes, I mean, I feel business. And if I have to go in a business meeting, I act business. If I wear a jeans with holes in it, then I feel more rock and roll.
True.
And so, yeah, if it's a rock and roll show, then act a little bit rock and roll. And that's the thing, is that over the years, I mean, and also it has to do with the way companies work, is that you have to adapt, but also for yourself. I mean, especially for me, I'm like, I don't want to play that role anymore. I want to be authentic as possible. Yeah. But at the same time, for certain meetings, I adapt, of course. I mean, when I'm meeting a CEO or a CEO of a big bank, I'm not...
It is sometimes also a show of respect. In
yes, that's it.
Right. So I agree. I think from a sales point of view, you need to know, you need to feel how far do you go, because that's like correct. This T-shirt, I would not probably go to prospect meetings.
No.
Hang on, let's go to the podcast journey and the podcast and what it has done for you, because I think it's a very interesting. We talked a long time ago, and I started doing the YouTube shows, and I stopped. I did a lot of different things trying to figure out what worked, and then you started doing podcasts. So if I look back to the early to now, what changed? How is it possible you get all those people in the show? Because you can actually reach almost anybody because of the show also,
yes.
Right? So that on its own is almost like a sales technique. I wouldn't call it technique.
Yeah, but it's theoretically seen, rationally seen, it's a sales technique. At the same time, for me, I started before the podcast a YouTube series because I saw some strange guy via Frank Mane doing some sales show via YouTube where he was like a little bit phony and smooth, and that was you. And I was like, I want to do the same, but in the raw version.
Yeah, not smooth.
Yeah, no, because I'm not like that.
First time we talked, he said to me, Michael, I think you're too smooth. You must be arrogant or something like that. And then we got to know each other, and then you said, you're completely not that way.
That's true.
But it's also for me like a kind of an alter ego is not the right word, but kind of
for me it was more like a persona or a mask.
Persona, and over the time, because you were pushing me and my wife was pushing me, she said, you got to be more Michael. You got to try and get more Michael.
I have the same, I mean, for your second book, you're going to collaborate with Lano.
Yeah.
And I had a podcast with Philippe Bayeur regarding trauma. But Philippe Bayeur is also a rock guitar player and is a huge fan of Queens of the Stone Age. So in the middle of the conversation, it's trauma, it's a very heavy, tough topic. I mean, I started asking questions like, but Philippe, I mean, why are you so attracted to Joss Homme of Queens of the Stone Age? And afterwards, Niels J.K. Janssens of Lanouk called me and he said, I mean, you know, I play a 65 Jaguar. The way you are raw, my authors really love that because you are different. And I was like, oh shit, I was trying to be more like you, more smooth. And I was like, no, just be raw. Yeah. And then it's the same thing that you mentioned 2 years ago, and I still remember to the day, and I'm very grateful you did, because I had for 41 years an issue with my eyes, because I have one eye like Alicia Keys.
And you have to imagine, I don't know Peter, and I told him very blunt, said, Peter, that eye of yours, nobody will talk to you about it, but I think you should do something with it, because I think that's one of your brand elements. Yeah, and you still haven't done it properly.
No, that's a bit. I just wrote an article about it. I have a different vision of seeing the things differently. Yeah. And the thing is that even with Alicia Keys, because I find her very sexy, because she owns it. So at a certain point, the things that you think that are negative or weaknesses, if you then from a distance look at it and say it is what it is and it's part of me, and I'm no longer trying to be somebody else, no longer be a grey mouse, especially in corporate land, then I'm like, I'm too old to play somebody else, and I'm going to embrace it and make it my strength. And the moment you accept that for yourself, I mean, everything starts to flow. So this means that instead of pushing for guests, I mean...
And I expected a lot of counter push. I expected people to say bad stuff to me and say, Michael, why are you doing? And nobody did actually. I did hear some stuff via, you know, but nobody really confronted me. The more I became Michael, nobody really confronted me by saying, Michael, it's crazy, these t-shirts, and what are you doing on stage? And I never had it, never.
No, but that's your thing. That's your. But sometimes I get feedback, and I listen to that. Is that I'm so enthusiastic and passionate that I have a tendency to interrupt people.
Yeah, that's sales.
Yeah, I know. But at the same time, for certain speakers, for certain topics, which are more slow pacing, I learn to really let the people say their thing.
But your show has a lot of airtime. I mean, no. What I mean is there's a lot of white space, can I say it like that? Yeah, you leave room for a few seconds of silence. Yeah. And in this format, which is much shorter, I have a tendency to go bang, 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 bang. It's very tough. And in your mind, when I shut up 3 seconds, it looks like an hour, which is not the case.
Yeah, but if you are listening, you're really part of the conversation. It's like you're sitting with us in a restaurant and you're joining that conversation. Yeah, sure. And it's really the raw conversation. And yeah, I chose that format which fits my personality, or it feels good for me. Yeah, and that's coming back to your original question. It's also something that I feel, thanks to you, I have also met a lot of beautiful people, amongst others Amelie Berens, and I really appreciate you, but also her, for being your authentic self, and I see you grow as being more you, and I find it creates some kind of connection. And I'm pretty sure that people have a feeling that they know you because you're consistent, just like me. And when they hear you and see you, they see that you're consistently being yourself. You're not playing somebody anymore.
So one of the things, because a lot of people, when they watch these podcasts and the shows, some of them want to start. People are watching now, want to start with this. And there are only a few people that I've met actually have done it. Yeah. While I'm saying, well, just start, try, don't worry too much. Yeah. Just do it and you'll find your own story. Because I remember after like 7-8 shows, I thought, this is not ideal. And then you kind of start evolving. It's funny, Peter called me yesterday and he said, hey Michael, I need different gear, and you start upgrading. You just improve as you go along. Yeah. And I believe in you. Just start simple. Don't overthink it.
But the biggest hurdle to start is our own dialogue, our own voice in our head is really influenced by the opinion of other people and what they would think if you. Yeah, I mean, I really remember coming out and showing up. Coming out is a different context.
Like Andy Naz in one of the previous shows who actually said exactly the same sentence.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're going to feel fear, but after a while, I mean, you're getting better at it and it becomes excitement. I mean, today people, are you nervous? No, I'm not nervous. No. I like to do this stuff. And
I'm still nervous if I do a keynote on a stage, something like with an audience, because you have an immediate feedback and you want to perform. But like this or interviews, it's more sometimes uncomfortable because you don't know what to do or what's going to happen. But rarely nervous.
But that's also a part that will evolve over time.
I slept badly because I wanted to do a good job today. And I'm thinking, I need to ask Peter this, and I should ask Andy that, and I should this.
I told you like
the technical stuff, that's the stuff I worry about then.
Yeah, but I have a different workflow. Like for instance, this weekend I have to play 3 times at the Ghent Festival. And everything from in terms of gear is already ready. So I just have to put it tomorrow evening in the car. So, and then I let go. I mean, I get paid to do what I love and what I have to do here. I mean, right now I enjoy it, but I'm still excited because I have to go to the toilet a lot.
Neither your show or mine, we get money for that.
No, a little bit via sponsoring, but it's not.
And I thought a lot about it. In one way, you lose some independence and credibility. On the other hand, you could actually scale it more. You can increase your production value if you want to really increase the quality. Probably need some.
I saw some of my listeners, viewers, by accident this weekend on the sea.
Yeah.
I was walking there, and she is an author of a book, and she said we were talking about content quality and production quality, and I heard I Love Marketing podcast in the US. Their best running episode was number 1 with Tony Robbins and I don't know what, and the one was in Hawaii, the other one was sitting in the subway in New York, and so the production quality was average, but the content quality was superb. My number 1 best listened podcast contains lots of noise, white noise. I removed it because I didn't know how the program, the software worked. That's the thing. I focus on progression instead of focusing on perfection, and that is why people don't start. And the thing that you have to do is also the principle that you use is that you need to force yourself to do it. So you create a cover. Yeah. I created a video, and you put yourself block.
So the book. I've written the book, but it's not done yet. So we made a cover so we can take pictures with people because the book will be there in 6-7 months. It's the same thing. I made a post saying I'm going to write this book, and I literally said in the post on LinkedIn, I literally said I am posting this so there is no way back. The post, by the way, had 18,000 views, so it works.
Yeah.
In a weird way, it's vulnerability. Yeah. In another way, it's making sure you'll do it, or at least you have a good go at it, right?
Your previous guest was Andy Nijs, eh?
Yeah.
And Andy is a big fan of Mel Robbins, and she has the 5-second rule, and I also apply that. And it's literally when you want to do something, then that cortex is that storyteller is going to create stories, not to do stuff or see problems. And if you do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just do it. And I have the same mentality. By doing it more, you get. You recognize that voice.
Let me ask you a more difficult question, because you are still employed for a company as a sales director, right? And on the side you're doing the podcast. It's kind of not really overlapping, but it's overlapping. For me, I became independent. I have 2 companies, and
I have my own company for that.
Oh, you have your own company for that. Yeah, and your employer never.
That was part of the negotiation.
Okay. Because I can imagine that suddenly, if that really starts growing, suddenly there might be some conflict of interest and that kind of stuff.
No, I think the thing is that I started the PS Grow in the beginning of 2020 when I was working for another employer, and I wanted to actually give keynotes, but I can wait until people ask me for keynotes, and I said I'm going to create my own stage. And I mean, you know how I started. I mean, my first videos suck and they're still on YouTube, but that's part of the journey, and I embrace them. So I'm like, I wasn't great in storytelling, I wasn't great at using cameras and all that stuff. And so my previous employer said, this is important for you because you're good at it. I did that internally. He said, Peter, there's an all hands, give us half an hour of your inspirational stuff. Do it.
I think it's a 1-1 makes 3 kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing I want.
It's a mind shift that needs to.
And that's the thing that you also mentioned in other podcasts, is that if you are going to block as a company the personal branding of people by YouTube's podcast or whatever, I mean, that's really stupid, because I mean, I'm looking for salespeople, but people see me. Yeah. And the salespeople who are working on it are like, Peter, teach me how to do that. You see? So is there a thing? No. My employer knew from the beginning that it's all coming together. And again, we are all human. So it makes, if I enter a customer or a prospect, a lot of them They said, I listened to that podcast, and I'm not only talking about sales, I'll talk also about narcissism, or today, this week, relationships. Next week is a CEO startup, then it's an entrepreneur, and I go a little bit deeper. So for me, that's important, but that's again embracing the part that I'm myself. And so they're like, no, it's the other way around. No. You're going to inspire the younger people, because I see the people around 23, 24, a podcast for them is like Thriller of Michael Jackson. They see it as a rock star. Right. Whereas our generation, a lot of our friends, they don't know the meaning of podcasts, or they think that the hype is over. And I'm like, it's still beginning in Belgium or Flanders.
I'm going to stop you here. I think we should learn a few things from just do it. Do not be afraid. Just start. Go, and embrace yourself. And it's you that will make the difference.
You do you.
Right? And you learn actually, for me, the journey was to learn about myself, actually how and what I like. I've known always what I didn't like, but it's by doing this YouTube show and the podcast that I started to learn what I really like, which is creative.
That's the thing that I have. I'm really passionate about sales. And then like 1 year ago, I was like, maybe I should do something around crypto. I started and I'm like, I feel that it's not my thing. Just I'm going to keep asking some guests, but it's never going to be a main team. And it's indeed, I mean, the biggest part is the coming closer to who I am as a person. And that price, I would even do it if nobody was listening. And this is for me the key after to just do it and all is, why are you doing this? Are you doing this to get an applause, or are you doing this because you really enjoy doing it? I mean, the things that I ask in a sales talk, I am the same. I ask questions, I do the same thing. The topic is a little bit different,
yeah, of course.
But it's the same way I work. Sure. So people are like, how did you learn to ask that great questions? I'm like, by doing it. And in the beginning, I wasn't good at it.
We'll end with the famous words from Peter, which is the most important is the journey, it's not the destination.
Correct.
Thank you for coming to the show. You are and were a great guest, Peter.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for having me.
About the podcast.
What is this?
I can explain.
Michael.
No, it's not what you think.
Michael,
No,
I'm off.